circuit. You're watching us live here from the Northwest Motorcycle Club, actually. Johnny Contract and myself, we've got some great guests coming up, and in a moment we're going to have a look at a video clip that went absolutely world-class viral after some biblical storm situation. We'll be back in a moment. Wow. Every time I look at that clip, I just go, wow. Now, that was the pit area that we're actually talking about, albeit in very difficult and different conditions.
The full-on race lane with holes big enough to just swallow things. And people were logging on, watching this thing. You could not believe when you looked at the title, it was a desert race with a quagmire and a lake in the middle of the pit area. Like, how bizarre. Who would ever have thought?
It was like a Swamp People episode on 7, mate. We're going to have the man featured in the middle of that. In fact, he's going to join us in just a second. And we're going to run a competition today on the show as well. And you're going to need to tell us some information about that video clip. Russell Jackson is joining us from Melbourne right now, the man at the centre of that Olympic swimming pool situation. Russell, it's good to see you, mate. You look a bit drier than the last time we saw you, buddy.
Yeah, a little bit. That was quite an exercise. So I got my boys here with me. They're all a bit excited about the whole affair too. But I didn't even know that. I don't have any social media accounts or Instagram or Facebook or anything, so I didn't even know that had got out of control, that footage. And I've got friends sending me footage of, dude, must have been pretty crazy this year, you know, and making a few jokes about it. And I said, well, that's actually me, mate. So I didn't realise.
So don't tell us the number.
But it was
whatever you do, don't mention the number, because we're going to ask people to answer that question about the views. So had you ever even been on YouTube or anything like that and had any sort of impact before? Now you're famous?
Never once in my life, actually. I mean, my name's been featured in the paper a couple of times for a couple of controversial things, but no, never, ever had any sort of online experience.
Wow. I think that's Jason Stewart as well, one of the local motorcycle heroes. Stu Ball's in there trying to just help drag you out. At what point did you realise, I'm not getting out of here? Our internet feed might have
Sorry, I missed that question. I've got a bit of an issue with the feed.
How? At what point did you realise...
I can hear now, go ahead.
Yeah, I can hear you okay. At what point did you realise, I'm probably not going to get out of here?
Well, actually, there's a bit of a story behind it. Because of the rain, I'd had a few electrical problems, and I got stuck out on the track a couple of times and couldn't get the bike going. And when I came into the pits, I couldn't start it. So, because the KTMs these days have only got the electric start, no Kickstarter. So I was going to put the bike back in the trailer. But the guys from Shanfield, actually, Matt and Alina Shanks, helped me out with a pit crew that year. I turned up on my own with no pit crew, and they helped me out. And a couple of their guys just said, "No, we'll push you." So I tried 3 times to push start through that suit, and apparently I just hosed the guys when I took off, just hosed them with a lot of mud. And I didn't. When I got stuck in that rut, I couldn't let the bike stop, because if it stopped, there was no way I was going to get it going again. So that's why I'm sitting there just, revving the guts out of it, just trying to get out of the rut. Because if it stalled, that would have been race over. And I'm just thinking, geez, I hope someone comes and gives me a hand, because I don't want to take my hand off the throttle. So I'm not sure who it was that helped me out, but I was really glad that he was able and obviously strong enough to drag the bike out without me helping, because I didn't want it to stall.
Well, trust me, the hacksawing backwards and forwards with the throttle wedged open and the spray coming off, and no one wanted to come anywhere near you for a little bit, because as much as there was rain and God knows what else hitting the deck, your hacksawing backwards and forwards just made it so graphic. And I know some of the shots that were taken you could see from other angles, because a lot of the other clips are floating around as well. But you could just see this tail, and there was no way knowing you were going to let that engine die off. You could just hear it. It's like, I am not giving up where it is right now, that's for sure.
No, if I would have felt terrible, actually, because it was only about 10 seconds before that the guys managed to get me started. So if it stalled, I would have felt shocking.
It had to be conflicting for people watching. It'd be like watching a bloke getting savaged by a croc. You kind of go, I really want to help, but that doesn't look like fun at all. We should mention the elephant in the room, mate. How's the bike? Because that can't have been... If you go back, I think, to the early Terra Firma videos or the Krusty videos, there was in with the good air, out with the bad air. How's the bike?
Mate, strangely, that bike is it's the best bike I've ever had. It's a 350. I've come off the 450 and back to the 350. I'm getting a bit old, and I really like it. But it's funny, you can just punish it, and I still to this day just get it out and just I've got to clean it. I'm still cleaning it from that from that event. But you can just absolutely punish that bike, and it keeps taking it.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's a testimony not only to it for that, but it's certainly something that I'm sure that the guys in the factory have never, ever gone down the path of thinking, well, let's just test it in something quite torrential and something quite horrific. And you've done exactly that. So a testimony to the brand.
It is, actually. It's a bit of a joke, really, how well KTM have done it. I'm not sponsored by KTM. I think I'll be looking for at least a deal on my next bike now, but it's a testament to how good they are. And really, I probably wouldn't buy another brand.
Jacko, why do you ride Hattah? And where are you based in Melbourne?
I'm sitting in Kew at the moment. I get up to Hattah. It's probably my one of my bucket list goals is to ride the Dakar one day. And I figure if I can keep riding the Hattah, I'm still somewhere near shape, because it's a ridiculously hard event, and it's a bit of a physical challenge every year. You train pretty hard for it, and you prepare for a month or two, obviously, and to be able to get through it is quite a feat. And you always feel fantastic when you're driving home.
There's a lot of people, Russell, that never ever get the chance to, like, they ride it so many times and they're still yet to finish their very first one. So it is a brutal event, but it is something that you just push yourself to want to compete in and complete every year if you could.
I've never heard it before. Sorry, mate, you're right.
Yep, I heard one of your guests before talking about the emotions that you go throughout the race. It's interesting how early on, you ride like the wind and you feel fantastic, but by the time you get to that sort of third hour, a bit past the third hour into the fourth hour, you you start thinking about some pretty strange stuff and wonder why are you doing it?
We can probably refer to Hattah now as the prologue for Dakar. I think if we're going to use Russell's, that's day one of the Dakar as you build up on Hattah. The clip has had a phenomenal amount of views. I don't want to mention the figure because it's going to be our competition, but you're basically like a world famous person these days, Russell.
So is there any way I can use that to get some sort of sponsorship out of anything?
Well, I'll tell you what, Russell, let me just explain to you, okay? I know that there is a figure number that we will give you, and it is 21.8 million views, okay? That's you 21.8 million times splashed across the globe with what you did with testing out that KDM.
That's
done.
Miley Cyrus territory. I just want to put that out for you, mate. So you're the man.
Wow. And
on that bombshell, we might let you put your helmet on so your head doesn't grow. We might start to move on to our next segment.
You're an influencer, Russell. Great to talk to you, mate. Please enjoy this weekend because you know that you're not going to have next year this time off. Always good to catch up with you, buddy, and stay dry, hey?
Thanks, guys.